Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage counseling using the EFT method, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in English and in French, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV therapy and coaching services at 301-325-1550. And our website can be found at lifecoach.drdanamzallag.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our 9th episode of season 8, a very special guest, an author and coach, Rick Ornelas. And just like every of my past episodes, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Rick, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, first off, thank you very much for having me on the happiness journey, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your audience. And yeah, I mean, you introduced me great. I'm an author, ultimate success coach. I'm the founder of iSpark Change, and I work with with people in all different types of industries, but mainly I help them get clarity and guidance so they can expand their business and so they can spread positive change around the world and have social impact. And that's really what we're all about with iSpark Change and everything that I'm focused on. Beautiful.
So tell me exactly, as you know, the happiness journey is basically your own personal journey to becoming who you are today. So can you tell the listeners what brought you to become a coach? What was your own set of challenges that brought you to where you are today?
Well, Dan, it's been a journey. And I like to say, like if you equate it to the hero's journey, I mean, we all have a journey that has lots of this, it has lots of peaks and valleys and the highs and the lows. And my journey is no different in that regard. I mean, it really took a big turn a couple years ago, but prior to that, I mean, I grew up as the youngest of 5 with 4 older sisters, so only male, me and my father, and a very disciplined household, one where family and our faith was very strong and very important, and our education. And so for me, that meant studying, going to university, getting out in the working world. And I started my career really in the corporate world, in sales and then management. And then I got into training. And once I got into training and development, I really found a passion for that. And after leaving corporate and going to the startup world and working in the startup world for a few years, that's where I learned quite a bit, increased my knowledge around growing a business and how to really help others and hone my skills. And there was a lot of development there over those years. And in that time, that's where in 2015, I decided to take all that and start coaching, to start my own. After we had, as I said, those highs and lows, we had taken one startup and we had grown it really quickly in the span of less than 2 years. And then it all came crashing down. And on that up and down journey, that's where I said, hey, I want to coach others and help them along the way so they don't have these challenges. And so that's what I started doing at the end of 2015. And things were sailing along. I was working with different businesses, mainly in the healthcare space, because I'd worked in that area. And then 2020 hit. Yes. And then when 2020 hit, things, changed for everybody. And when they changed for me, it meant that my business slowed way down. I lost a lot of clients. People asked if they could put their services on hold or if they could, decrease their services. And so I quickly found myself in March of 2020 with little to no revenue coming in from my business, getting very fearful, very anxious, not knowing what the future was going to hold. And that was a very uncomfortable place for me because, like a lot of people, I would try to have some control over my life and kind of that illusion that we have control. And then when that was all taken away, after going to that anxious place for a few months, I realized that I was in a much better place than many others, that I was taking on the wrong mentality of kind of woe is me mentality, when there was people that were dying, there were people that were suffering, there was a lot of these other issues going on in the world, and that I needed to be grateful for, everything I had. And once I changed my mindset around that, I decided to write, and I wrote a blog about using the time as an opportunity to grow and learn. And then I took my own advice and I started writing a book that had been in my head for 20 years that I had never written, or, not more than a page. And I wrote that book started in April. So yeah, almost exactly 2 years ago to the day. And I started in the beginning of April writing and going down that journey. And in that time, that's where I really went through a lot of changes in myself. I connected spiritually and really evolved as an individual to where I had a deeper understanding of what was important in my life, and what I wanted, what would be fulfilling, and what my purpose really was, to help others and help inspire and impact others. And so then I created iSpark Change. I finished my book. I created iSpark Change, this organization to elevate social impact and spread positive change. And that's what I've been on the journey of since then, is on growing iSpark Change, building that community, helping others. And it's really put me on that path to a better place. That path to happiness is finding, not realizing what my true purpose was all those years, and, getting to this point in my life where I feel like I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing, like I'm in the right place and on the right path.
So do you think that happiness is a choice or a feeling for you?
Wow, that's an awesome question. I'd say it's both, honestly. And what I mean by that is that I think we can all choose happiness in any situation. So to use my story as an example, when COVID hit initially, I wasn't happy with the situation. And once I made a commitment that, hey, I'm going to be happy about the time, I'm going to enjoy the time with my family, I'm going to do things, like we redid our backyard, and, I'm going to write my book, which had been, I never had the time for. Once I made that conscious choice to be happy, then I think it's, that's where it becomes more of your state of being, that you're just, I'm happy all the time and in different situations. And even I think taking that mindset of making that choice and having that mindset of happiness, it really breeds more happiness. that because of it, then you start having happiness in different situations that you might not otherwise have been happy in, that otherwise may have been more challenging, and that you can still, it's not going to get you down. I work out a lot. I've been an athlete all my life, and I've had, when you get older, your body can't do all the things that it used to do. So, and I've done CrossFit for 11 years, and I've coached CrossFit for 7, and in doing that, it can wear down the body. So I've had many injuries around that, and in the past, those injuries would really sap the happiness from me, because I'd go work out and just focus on what I couldn't do and focus on the limitations of the injuries and everything. And now, like even my shoulder past couple months was a little twingy, and even then it doesn't bother me really at all, because I've learned to adapt and grow and be happy in that situation regardless, and find joy in doing things differently.
So do you think that your own experience when you go and coach other people at your at your company and all, what kind of like common issues do you see the most that are being shared with you to be able to solve their problems? I mean, I know the difference between coach and therapist, it's like a world of difference. However, it does share similarities, because the therapist will focus a lot on the past. The coach will be more mindful, focus on the present, and allow the client to be able to find solution for themselves. Because like I said, you cannot always hold someone's hand for the rest of their life. You have to teach them how to think for themselves. So in your practice, what do you feel are the most common issues of clients that come to you say, hey, this is the problem, how can I solve it?
I'd say a couple things really, Dan. It's oftentimes it's a matter of perspective. So just like me, having that perspective shift to see, oh, okay, well, I can't do this now a certain way because of my shoulder. I can do so. Having that perspective, oftentimes I see in clients that they have a certain perspective that it creates more of that tunnel vision where they don't see the solutions. Like you said, you help them find solutions on their own that they don't necessarily see because their perspective is from a certain vantage point where they're only seeing something that comes up as a challenge and not as an opportunity. And so when you can shift that perspective to say, okay, there is some positive in this situation, or I can learn and grow from it. Even I coach a lot around success and failure and everything. And I am a proponent that failure is the best teacher we have in life.
Yes.
And for years, I wasn't that way. For years, I didn't want to fail. I mean, especially in sports and everything, you don't want to lose. And that's where it's a lot about that perspective. And then a lot of it really goes into, and you probably see this in your work, Dan, but a lot of it goes into work around their mindset and limiting beliefs.
Yes.
And having the belief that, I can't do this, or I can't do this, or I've always been this way, when so much of it is around changing their language and changing those beliefs and getting them to have, new beliefs about themselves or new beliefs about their business or what they can accomplish. And these are all things that I've had to learn myself as well in my journey over the years. And those are the two biggest areas that I really see, movement upward and in an upward trajectory and success when you can get past those other things, a process or a system in the business or seeing, something from a different perspective around how they're dealing with their people or marketing or all those kinds of things. Those come from knowledge and experience that I have that they may not have because they're not as far along on their journey. So, I'm been down that road, so I can share that. But if they don't have those first couple right, like the perspectives and the mindset, then the rest of the stuff doesn't tend to work out so well.
But then would you agree, Rick, that unfortunately for the majority of us, fear is always a component for them to be able to create those limiting beliefs and to not allow to change their mindset? Because if they're fear of the unknown and they don't know exactly what may happen by the certain set of action that they take, how do you divert or how do you reflect that fear into something more positive?
Yeah, that is an awesome point, Dan, because that is at the heart of the limiting belief. Most of the time, it is fear, and that's where someone like you may get into some of their past and to where that actually came from. But for someone like me, it's focused more on the present and the future, as you said. So it's focused more on, okay, well, what actions can they take that are less fearful, for example? So how can we break something down if where they want to get seems too scary, too far away, too big, then how can we break that down into the tiny habits, the tiny actions that are going to get them to where they want to be? So a simple analogy I'll use is people may say, oh, I never have time to read. I want to read more. And so it's like, okay, well, just commit to reading a page a day, and then even if they don't do that, just take out the book and open it. You've opened it. And then that's probably going to lead to, okay, well, I opened it. I might as well read something. But when you go so small and so granular, it gives you immense clarity on where I need to go. Because if you're looking at a mountain and they're looking at the top of the mountain, well, to see a path there, it's crazy. But if you say, oh no, here's a little path, I just need to go one step and the next step and the next step. So that really helps with overcoming the fear in the now. And then the second part of it, Dan, is really helping them to visualize where they want to be, that goal that they want to accomplish. And then in having the visualization techniques and the mindfulness and the feelings and the associated feelings. And there's different tactics that I'll take them through with journaling and things to understand that it is a reality, that they can get there. And then once they have small wins, right? You take those first few steps, you have some wins, then that breeds confidence. And then the fear starts to diminish and the confidence starts to increase. And then you start, accomplishing goal after goal after goal.
But it is said that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, right?
Yep.
So that's,
Yep.
so would you say that this is kind of like more of a universal approach to circumvent fear? Because if you give them little tasks to do, small steps, then it will not appear to be something that is too overwhelming for them to perform. And that will allow them to build confidence along the way.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's something, this is not anything, earth shattering or unique to my coaching. I mean, yes, this is someone that anyone can apply. Even so, an example that a lot of people can relate to, Dan, would be, for example, trying to lose weight, right? There's a lot of people probably listen that they're like, oh, I wish I could lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds or 20. And when I've coached people in CrossFit in the gym, is that, again, that goal is too big, the 20 pounds or to eat better, it's so big. And when you say, hey, just come today, just come one time, and then just show up. And then you get them there and like, hey, we're just going to do this one thing. And as you, and so the principles apply to really anywhere, is that it's, anything can be so scary, but when it's in small enough doses, the fear just, it minimizes so small. And then, like, as I said, the confidence just grows and grows and grows. And then before you know it, the person is, the person that couldn't run 400 meters is running a marathon. And that's what happens. It's just that compounded effect of time, time and those tiny actions.
Do you think that based on when you were teaching CrossFit, have you seen people that were like morbidly overweight and then reach their ideal goal, no matter how long it took? But do you think that their mindset is different from those who actually feel that, no, this is too much for me to accomplish, it's impossible? And for some, despite the many hurdles that they have in front of them, they're born with a mindset that may change the way that they look at life and their perspective, as you mentioned.
I think I think that plays a role, Dan, because I think we're all a product of our environment and our upbringing and our past, as you well know. And the things that have gotten us to this point in life and the things that have developed that mindset and honed it over time. So yes, we're all going to come to our starting point with different beliefs, with different mindsets, with different attitudes towards any activity that we have. And to use, your example of CrossFit in the gym, I've seen people that come where they're at a better starting point. And what I mean by better is, they have a mindset that is more malleable to getting to that point, that end goal. Okay. And then I've seen others that they're fighting it more, right? Those limiting beliefs are very strong. They've been ingrained over decades, sometimes. And that does take more work. So the biggest variable I would say that I've seen is that it takes more time and it takes more effort. So I firmly believe anyone can get there with the right coaching, the right strategies, the right methods, the right tools. That's why I said, like that example, you can have someone that can't even walk around the block and they could be running a marathon. It may be 3 years from now or 4 years from now or 5, but they can get there if they have the coaching, the strategies, the tools, and into that goes the mindset. So the last thing I would say is, the only time I've seen where it's not effective is if someone is completely closed off. If they just completely shut down and they say, I can't do it, I'm never going to do it, it will never happen, and then they give up. And then what I've done in those situations is then I help them to find a new goal that's different, maybe slightly related. Okay, maybe they're like, hey, I can't run. Okay, well, maybe you'll become the best rower in the gym because you can't run. So you're going to become the best rower in the gym. And they're just like, no, I can't run. My knees are, hurt, whatever. Let's focus on something else. And then you get them some confidence and some wins in another related area. And I can do the same thing in business. Just find something if they struggle in one area. Okay, well, let's get you some success in a different area.
So my wife loves CrossFit, okay, but it was known for several years, and tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of people feel intimidated because they always see the coach as being someone very tough with them. Come on, do squats, do a leg, do whatever other exercise, and they're very tough. So they feel intimidated by the aggressiveness of the CrossFit teacher. Has that changed throughout the years? Because all we see is like, no, they're too tough for me. I'm just going to be insulted like army people.
Yeah. I think it did get a bad rap in the past because of that. And early on, so years ago when I was in the corporate world and I was traveling and doing training, I went to CrossFit gyms from all over the US and the world. I went to many different CrossFits all over the place. I think like over 40 in different states and countries. And there's good coaches and there's not so good coaches. And what I found over the years is that has diminished, that kind of old school mentality of, you kind of do or die and it's this way, or you don't do it at all. That really is gone. And that's, I don't typically see that anymore. And I mean, where I coach, we don't do that at all. But we're very big on helping people scale and meeting them where they are and modifying the workouts. And I had someone just last week. So I only coach, just a few times a month now as a hobby, but I did coach last week, and I had someone that she hadn't been there in since pre-COVID, like maybe 3 years.
Oh boy.
And so she had been coming, and then she got an injury and she stopped coming, and then pandemic hit and all that. And then now she said, hey, she put on a few pounds. She wanted to come back. And ironically, at this late class, some other people had canceled. The weather was bad, whatever. She was the only person there. So it was just her and I.
Oh, okay.
And so I modified things. I completely changed the workout to be better suited for her because, and honestly, I mean, she was out of shape. 3 years of not doing anything. She was very out of shape, getting winded very quickly and stuff. And so I met her where she was. And then we found some things that she could do where she could have some success, get some confidence, not be crazy sore the next day. So then she will want to come back, and then she'll come back. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I can do it. I'll do it again. And then that's not so bad. I do it again. So just going back to your original question, I think if for everybody, you want to find the right coaching. You want to find someone that's going to resonate with you and that you're going to connect with. And I think part of that falls on the responsibility of the coach to be able to adapt to the different people that cross their path, to serve them in the best way possible.
Basically customize every training like regimen, and not really just follow what CrossFit requires. You're gonna have to do some modification.
Yeah, so you follow the general guidelines like of the workout. Like we'll have our workout of the day, and it may include burpees, and it may include deadlifts or some exercises. But for that individual, we modify it. So maybe they do a burpee to a box, and so it's not all the way to the ground. Or maybe they just use the bar. You modify things so they're still doing the movement, that functional movement. They're still getting a good workout. But it's tailored to theirs. So you don't just give them something totally different that nobody else is doing, because you want them to be part of the community too, because that's a part of them feeling that success. That's a part of them saying, hey, I like being here. People are supportive. They want me to be successful. I want them to be successful. That group accountability is very powerful, which is part of why I think CrossFit grew, over the past, decade plus, is that group accountability. And community aspect.
So do you feel, Rick, that some of your clients, when it comes to the business perspective, they come to you for solutions, but when they come to you for solution, they want to basically delegate the task for you to find a solution instead of them. So do you feel that sometimes responsibilities come upon you that are above and beyond your scope of expertise at this point? Or how do you tell them, look, I'm here to guide you, but you will find a solution, not me?
Yeah, it's very interesting the way that the question, Dan. And early on, when I first started almost 7 years ago, I was still figuring out how to be a consultant, how to be a coach. And I'm going to call it a mistake, but I made the mistake of doing things for my clients. Okay. Where this is a service. Oh, I'm going to build out all your marketing, for example, and do that. And I, over the years, in the first early couple of years, I realized that was not an effective way to go. It wasn't beneficial for the client. It wasn't beneficial for me. It took too much time. It just was all around not a lose-lose situation. And I even early on, my original company, the name was consulting, and I changed it to coaching because I discovered that by coaching others and in essence, teaching them how to fish instead of fishing for them was the much better path. Mm-hmm. And once I made that change, probably 5 years ago, I started having a lot more success with clients. And now, even when I take a new client on, or even if we're just having a call, seeing if there's the potential that I'm going to work with them, I let them know that at the beginning. I let them know that, hey, I am going to help you with accountability. I'm going to help you find solutions. I'm going to, yes, I will share knowledge and expertise that I've acquired along my journey. I think that's the role of anyone that's been on the path, that you should bestow that knowledge to other people to help them on their journey. I mean, you don't want them to fall in the holes on the path. You want them to be able to navigate around, and so they don't have to fall in and climb out. And some people still they want to fall in the hole and learn on their own. But with that, I let them know that I will help you. I'll guide you. We'll come to answers. I'll share knowledge so you can be better off for it. And then I will help you become a better version of yourself. That's what I always tell them, is that you're looking for coaching because you want to improve. And so I want to help you become the best version of yourself.
So basically you're teaching them more how to fish so they could feed themselves for life.
Yes, exactly.
So how can our listeners find you, Rick, when it comes to the services that you provide or the coaching service that you provide, actually?
They can just go to our website, which is isparkchange.com. So the letter I and then sparkchange.com. And they'll see about our community there. They'll learn about our social impact work, and then they can fill out a little form to inquire more about coaching and some of the work we do with businesses around social impact. But it all starts with just joining the community and making that connection. And they can follow us on social media, iSparkChange. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all those. They can find us there too.
And your book?
My book is, the title is 12 Hours of Heaven, Lessons for a Better World. Okay. And it is a fictional tale that was inspired 21 years ago after I was in a major car accident where I rolled a car on the freeway with my family on board, and we should have all been killed and were unharmed. And it's about an angel that is sent down from heaven, and he helps 10 people with the biggest challenges they're facing in life. And they learn some lessons along the way.
That is very, very deep. Wow, Rick. Well, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. And I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join us. And thank you again, Rick, for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible story. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 8 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories, just like the one that you listened to today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. There's no use to looking back at yesterday. You're no longer the person you were back then. Every morning, the sun rises. You are a changed person. Change the experience you've had, the lessons that you have learned, and the much love you have received. It's time to move forward and embrace the life that's been given and be grateful for the many blessings that have been bestowed upon you. There'll always be ups and downs, good times and most probably bad, losses and gain. Life is about learning lesson, showing love to others in the process, and growing into a beautiful soul you're meant to become. Don't let yesterday rob you from your happiness today. Be mindful and be grateful. Every time the sun rises, it's a new opportunity to make your life the best it can be. Don't be afraid. You are the author of your own destiny. Write it the best way you want. My name is Dr. Dan Amzallag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.